Hello and welcome to the Free Cheese episode 498. I'm your Joe Dix, joined by Matt Sauner.
Hello.
Mark Augustiniak.
Welcome, stranger.
The Free Cheese is a weekly video game podcast about video games brought to you once a week by thefreecheese.com. It's the moment you've all been waiting for. We are rating and ranking Resident Evil 4 this week on the podcast. Not the one you're thinking of, though, and probably not the one you've been playing over the last weekend. We are returning back to 2005, the original release. More on that later. Got a little opening question for Matt, Mark. Which third-person game did you first play and think, oh, this feels like Resident Evil 4?
Dead Space.
Ah. Good answer. Good answer. I feel like Resident Evil 4 was quite influential in the third-person action space. And I feel like it's often cited as the game that kicked off that genre. I know we had third-person action games prior, but it felt like this modernized it in 2005 and set the standard that we'd still be living in almost 20 years later. Dead Space feels like it. Matt, any...
Just say Resident Evil 5.
So that's like my first fucking thought was Resident Evil 5. But I feel like Gears really stuck with that. I feel like Gears, I know it's farther out, right? But like it's stiff enough. It's very, it's hurt. Yeah. It plays similar enough to 4, where I think that one.
A more niche answer would be Cold Fear.
Oh man, all right, yeah.
I've heard of that. I've never
that
seen
one was,
that in action.
That was, it's, as soon as you start it, there's no way you can't make that comparison.
That was Konami, right?
Ooh, that might be Ubisoft.
You're right. Yep.
Yeah, and
I remember it was someone's
one...
answer to Resident Evil, but yeah, Konami had Silent Hill at that time. So,
and that's another zombie game on a boat.
Yep. More just yes. Yeah, I think Gears. That's what when I asked the question or when I wrote the question, I was thinking Gears as well. Probably because Gears was the first one I really spent time with in that era. Yeah, but we're also, fun fact, recording this episode on the 27th anniversary of the original game's release for the PlayStation. Did you guys know that? Today, here?
No.
March 22nd?
For Resident Evil 4?
Resident Evil 1.
Oh, for
March 22nd, 1996.
Nice.
I know.
I thought that day was a little weird for 4. I remember getting 4 for Christmas, but I didn't think it was that far.
No.
For some reason, I thought the Resident Evil anniversary was like in September, but that's when like the games took place. It was like August, September.
Well, the director's cut did premiere in September of 97, so there's that.
Makes sense.
But yeah, I guess also the premise.
Well, nice.
Resident Evil 4, the game we're talking about this week, developed by Capcom Production Studio 4, published by Capcom, first released for the Nintendo GameCube on January 11th, 2005, followed by a PlayStation 2 release October 25th, 2005. The Wii release, which is important to highlight here, June 19th, 2007, and then literally came to every other platform you could want it to or not. I mean, it hit PC, it hit the iPhone, came out on the Zibo in Brazil, PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, Android, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and then Oculus Quest 2. And that's all just the original old 4 release. We'll talk about the different versions we played then and now. But first, of course, we have to start the episode with a quick, brief reading of the back of the box. This is interesting. What I'm reading is from the GameCube original release, because I find it's important that we do that. But comparing it to the Wii's release, some of the words were slightly altered, revised. Maybe they were cleaning up some copy, I'm not sure, but had some S's added or removed, depending on which version you read. So if you're hearing me read this and you're like, that's not what it says, it is. It's just on the GameCube version. Okay. So, Resident Evil reinvents itself as the series moves in a terrifying new direction. U.S. agent Leon Kennedy has been tasked to look into the abduction of the president's daughter, and his investigation has led him to a mysterious location in Europe. As Leon encounters unimaginable horror, he must find out what is behind the terror. Fast-paced, edge-of-your-seat action, aim and shoot, zero in on enemies with laser precision. Cunning enemies use their abilities to attack the player en masse. It's Dolby Pro Logic 2.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
nice.
switched it to that for my playthrough this time around. Did not notice a difference. Probably because I don't have Dolby Logic Pro Digital 2. But, I did it. This one was... So, for the listeners, if you're following, if you've caught up with how we've been doing these, we have a minimum of 3 episodes a month, probably more than that in most cases. We have at least 4, sometimes 5 episodes a month. The first 3 are games that each of us selected. We've been following with the order of me, Mark, Matt. So here we are, our 4th and final week in March. We've got our 3 done already. But Matt, you nominated this one for our kind of gap filler episode. For the year, we've been sometimes throwing a game in our gap filler. We've been sometimes doing a one-off, spin-off, weird conversational episode that doesn't necessarily rank a game, but we opted for this. Matt, why did you want us to talk Resident Evil 4?
I think the timing of the remake and that announcement and the hype going into where this podcast would release at, I thought it would be a good time to, if you were interested in the remake or not, it'd be a good time to at least go back and reflect on the original. We'll get into it here, but it's just one of those titles that, we've done game of the year stuff and best games, and, we do pretty good to cover, like, the last 5 years, but we haven't, like, really gone back before that, and this would definitely, I think, be one of those games we talk about if we were going back even further in time with stuff like that. So, I think it'd be interesting to put on the list.
Yeah, I agree. I'm very curious to see where this does end up on the list. Of course, if you want to see the list as it is right now, before we add Resident Evil, you can go to thefreecheese.com/thelist. Actually, that's not true. By the time you're hearing this, we've already updated it with where Resident Evil 4 is. But you can go look at it now. And stay tuned for the rest of the episode to find out where it ranks. Mark, while you and I did not elect for the game to be added to the list, we did not object for the game to be added to the list when Matt proposed it. Why did you find yourself so willing and excited to talk Resident Evil 4?
It's been a staple game in my... when I go through cycles of old games to play, this is one that gets visited more often than I had realized. Plus, just always being in the mood for Resident Evil whenever like a new game comes out and get excited. I do sometimes, always think back to this. Even if I'm not in a quite gaming mood to play Resident Evil 4, there's always things about it that still resonate in my head, whether it's like certain sounds or certain things that happen in the game, and just, you'll be just going about your day and maybe you hear or see something that just reminds you of the game, and it just triggers the whole thing again. So it's very comfortable, familiar territory for me. And it was from, like, I guess, one of, like, peak gaming eras, highlights of my life, I guess. So, shines a little more in that respect.
This was the first Resident Evil game that I actually played, like ever tried, and then also the first one that I beat because it was the first one I'd played. But this was my introduction to the series, and honestly, I wrote this in my review, but for years I'd played this and I'd played the spin-offs. Like I played Umbrella Chronicles on the Wii, obviously, because like the Wii by de facto, like I had a 360 a couple years into its life cycle, but the Wii was the first console I bought from that generation. My brother had the 360 first, so I had been like, playing his a bit and whatever. I didn't buy a PS3 until later in the generation, but playing Wii was my like main jump into, what generation was that? The 6th? 7th? I don't even remember which one we're in now.
Are we at one?
No, actually, I don't think we are in one now. But
the Fortnite generation.
I want to say 6th or 7th. That sounds right.
Anyway, but yeah, the Wii was like my main thing for a while during those years. And yeah, I'd play 4. I played the spin-offs, and then I would start to, then by the time I did get a PS3, you start to get PlayStation Network adding those classic games, like you're able to readily play and buy old PS1 games. So I remember trying 1 and just like they did not click the right way. So for the longest time, 4 was the only proper game I'd played. Plus, by the time I like actively was paying attention to video games, and like watching the news cycle and all those fun things that whatever. 5 and 6 were the big ones, and 5 and 6 were like, kind of tapering off in terms of, I think, fan engagement and excitement to an extent. It seemed like neither of them could fully capture what 4 had done. And it just seemed like there was no good jumping on point after that. Then the 1 remake came to modern platforms with PlayStation stuff. And I played a bit of that, but like it still is classic in a way. And then 2, when we did the 2 remake in 2019 for Game of the Year, it was like, oh, I think I do like Resident Evil a whole lot. And then that kicked off to go backwards and just play as much as I could. And when the 3 remake came out, I played that. I played 7 eventually. I played 8. I'm about to replay 8. Like, I'm in, and I'm like excited to see what comes next in it. I still want to go back and play some of the older ones, but anyway, so to Matt's point of like Game of the Year, and this being one of those big types of games that are just like iconically classic, it was like, this was my first one. It was my entry point into Resident Evil, and for the longest time, I'd say until 2, this was like my favorite by,
de facto
lack of competition. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it was my jam, but yeah, so I then and now played on the Wii. I think that's important to note. And I kind of, I don't know, man. I know that this was a GameCube game for a lot of people, but to me, this is like, it fully, when they brought it to Wii, they really, you still get the action, like you're still moving with the nunchuck, you're controlling Leon, but you are aiming and pointing with the Wii remote, and then like it's kind of a weird input actually, because you have to, maybe you guys can tell me how it works on regular controller, because I've literally never tried it. But on the Wii remote, you pull B to have Leon draw the gun, and you press A to shoot. So is it a aim fire kind of situation?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like holding left trigger and then.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's been my only exposure to it, and I kind of never want to play. I mean, the remake will be a different story, but I kind of never want to play it otherwise. Especially the QuickTime events, being able to just shake to run away from the rock and then hit Z and C to roll out of the way at the last minute. Like that kind of stuff throughout it was very nice and easy to do with the Wii remote.
So the beauty of playing on PC with HD mod is I did turn on that box to fucking auto.
Just pass all
that's
that.
good. Yeah. So is
I'll
that
deal with
how
that.
you both played through this time around?
Yes, but I play mouse and keyboard.
Interesting.
Interesting.
So I wanted to, I figured I'd throw a curveball in it since I played on controller so much.
Was aiming similar to like the Wii version with the mouse?
Yeah, it's I had it mapped. It was right click was aim, and then left click was fire,
Yeah.
and spacebar was your knife.
Oh. Okay. No, yeah, I totally used the controller. I didn't like modify the gameplay, but just playing it cleaner than what the current HD versions are out there for this game. Capcom's official version is kind of a disservice visually, and so it's nice that this mod came out for that, and big congrats to that developer for landing a job because of it.
Yeah, that's always a good, when you can see someone build a resume from hobbyist stuff. Because I will tell you, as someone who has gotten more and more into hobbyist software and development stuff in the last few years, these people are doing it better than the corporations. Like, the emulation you can get on Mister is a billion times better than what you can do on PS5.
And that's how you can feel it's a passion project. It's like it's a labor of love for sure.
No, it's great when people can get recognized for that stuff and can, turn it into something more than just the community. But hey, even the community itself, like, I'm sure that within Resident Evil fandom, that dude was already appreciated.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I was just using the controller. I kind of forgot, even though I was playing on a PC, that mouse and keyboard was even an option. I probably would have been curious to try it, but I don't know if I would have stuck with it. I probably would have switched back eventually.
It feels like an afterthought, some of the setup.
Yeah.
It's fine gameplay, but once you get into the attaché case, backspace is how you pick up item to move it. Oh, and then here's what the game doesn't tell you is how to flip things, which is kind of important once you get a little crowded.
Oh,
it's,
yeah.
Page down and up.
Sure it is, yeah.
Can you
I had to
keybind?
look that up with also a lot of threads asking, how do you rotate your items?
I guess not, probably.
Well, that sucks because, like, it doesn't prompt you on the menu or on the screen, like, how to do that in the Wii version either. And it wasn't necessarily intuitive, but at some point I was like, well, it has markings for A and B and what they do. Or maybe if it didn't even say B, I knew that B would back me out. The only, like, two buttons that weren't on the screen were Z and C on the nunchuck. So I was like, C? And then it spawned and I was like, oh, sick. I can pick up this big bass. Just got to move some of these herbs around.
This game came out at a very interesting time. Like, from a Resident Evil standpoint and just from a gaming overall standpoint, because I feel like most of early 2000s games, they haven't fully embraced options. Like, we're getting there, but we're not quite there when it comes to, like, accessibility and, like, modding controls to fit your desires or whatever, you know? It's just, like, it is what it is, and you just gotta adapt to it, and, like, that's the thing.
And I'll say that even today, most games are still that way. This is our control scheme, period.
I
However,
think this had, like, a couple, but...
So, no, yeah, a lot of games will have type A, type B, whatever, but, like...
But you couldn't assign every single thing.
No. And the other thing, too, is, like, I would say most modern games now are all kind of doing the same control scheme. So, like, you always know that X is going to be jump if you're using a PlayStation controller. If it's not, something terrible happened. But I think this was different because this was setting its standard and kind of forging a new path for not just Resident Evil, but for games itself. But for Resident Evil especially, like, those old games were... obtuse is the wrong word because that sounds like it was purposefully obtuse, but they were tough to navigate. Like, they're not as intuitive as we're used to. I think had you played them at their time of release, and once you're in it, honestly, for more than an hour and you get past the part where your brain is complaining that it's difficult to control, you can get it and it's fine. But yeah, it's tough. Or like, I think it's easy to underscore the importance of what this game did from a third-person camera perspective and gameplay perspective. Like, controlling Leon in that fashion, I don't know. Just, yeah, it hadn't been done like that.
It's funny because everyone always brings up like the tank controls for the old games and how this kind of reinvents it, but Leon's still tank controlled. Like,
that's a very good point. Yeah. You're right.
It's just there's no obtuse camera angles and the changing directions of them you have to worry about anymore. You see everything in front of you. So like I get it. Yes, it does reinvent the wheel for Resident Evil, but it does not take away tank controls.
Yeah,
no, you're still walking forward. You're sidestepping. That's a good point.
Yeah,
it doesn't feel like it though.
No.
It's interesting because like the way that I grew up with these games, it's like it's very limited in scope, but I still kind of compare it to how like 2D, like the jump from 2D to 3D, more specifically, I guess, like we're more familiar with this since we grew up with it, but the jump when Ocarina of Time came out and Final Fantasy VII came out, those were like the biggest games that everyone was talking about. And then I kind of feel between playing only Resident Evil 2, for me, like that was my gateway on a 64, and then jumping into GameCube Resident Evil 4, that feels also like I can like I equate that with those two games in terms just how different and like just improved everything felt. Very distinctive.
Yeah, no, this game definitely has that leap. And I don't think, well, I don't know. So you guys tell me what my impression is that the series didn't go through another significant leap like that until 2's remake. But were 5 and 6 control-wise, yeah.
No, like 5 and 6, honestly, I think the best thing about 6 is the controls. I think they finally got it at that point because you could do more than just like 4 started it. It's with that foundation. 5 was starting to get it, and which also wasn't bad. But in terms of like moving around, like you didn't feel stiff when it came to 6 because because you could jump dive, like you could jump dodge and roll and like do like flips and everything.
You could also walk while aiming. They didn't put that into 6.
Mm.
And then like every character was different. Like everyone had their own gameplay style. So it's technically it's impressive for what they could do, especially with it being co-op. It's just that it came at a time where horror games for some reason just weren't being treated well. Everything was becoming more action focused and heavy, which killed Resident Evil or almost killed it. So I think 7 kind of became what 4 became.
Yeah, and I forgot that 7 came before 2 remakes. I think that really did.
Yeah, and then but when 2 came back, 2 is like from that point forward, that kind of became the new, I guess, like the most improved version, maybe, of like that over the shoulder control scheme. I mean, you don't have a lot of those dodges and stuff, and they started slowly coming. Like by the time you get to 3, you can do some of that dodging.
Yeah,
like Jill can dodge and stuff. So and now 4, we apparently with the new one you can crouch and do stuff now, and like that's new. So
I think those are a little bit of an homage to the other games. So like 3 did have that parry mechanic, so like they kind of added that in there. And 4, I guess Leon never Leon never crouched, but there was a lot more environment based things, and I think that's what they're aiming for with this. But
yeah, but I think comparing to this OG 4 style, like I think 6 was.
It's so funny you bring up 6, but like I said Gears of War earlier, but Resident Evil 6 Chris's campaign is Gears of War.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So Mark, you played GameCube first time around. Matt, what about you?
I played PS2 first time around.
So you had the added
Separate Ways chapter, yes.
Yes. Did you play that at the
Journey.
time? I still have yet to play it or even know what happens.
I played it, yeah.
Worth it?
Yeah, if you had it, yeah. I wouldn't. I don't know. I don't think I'm going out of my way to look for that copy if I didn't have one. But
sure,
you know, I enjoyed it.
I remember. I'm pretty sure I played it at a friend's house because I just wanted to just see how. Like for some reason, my brain from GameCube to PS2, like the controller setup, it's like uncharted territory. I was like, I forgot everything for some reason, even though they're shaped mostly
relatively, yeah.
But yeah, when I got to that part, it was pretty much more the same. You know, Ada has a grappling hook, so staple.
Pretty good.
She needs that. I liked it.
I mean, it just kind of puts Mob's enemy from point to point when Ada shows up in this game, and it's like, oh, that's how Ada got there. Oh, that's how that character got there.
Yeah,
the big revelations.
Cool.
So looking back on this game, prior to us playing it this time around, I tried to remember, because I've played it once, single time back in 2007, and that was it. And every time it would like come back out, I would be like, maybe I should. And then it was like, no, I really like. I remember when it came out for Wii, and I remember all of my friends who had GameCube being like, oh, it's coming out for Wii. And I was like, I've never played a Resident Evil game. And they're like, ready to turn themselves inside out. You got to play it. You got to get it. Go buy it. And I bought it day one for Wii, played through it, loved it, had a great time. And that was that. So then returning to it now, my memory of this game, I was telling Matt this the other day, but my memory of this game was like people in the village that were kind of whatever. Dude with a chainsaw. And the chainsaw dude, so the first time you fight El Gigante, in my memory, that like big, like, oh, this is happening, that was a chainsaw fight, not El Gigante. It was just like, I remember it being like way scarier and more whatever than whatever. I remember getting yelled at by Ashley for being a pervert just because I was like trying to help her jump off of a ladder.
Yeah, she can climb up with no problem, but no one in that game can climb down ladders.
Yeah. And then I don't know. That was kind of like, I remember the merchant. I think everybody always remembers the merchant, but like going back to it now, there was so much more that I like, as I played it, I remembered it, but I really couldn't have recalled it prior to like being in it. Including the fact that like every Resident Evil game, Mark, you said it, was that before we were recording today? Or while I can't remember now if it was as we were recording this episode or not, but every one of these games always ends up back in a lab, back in a, like this, like, you know, it's
typical formula.
And I don't know, these games like shift a bit, because it's like 4 starts out in this village, and it's very, like, it's slow, and it's like, there are like things coming you need to fight, it's whatever, but like by the end of it, it's full on action. Like it's, you know, very, very action heavy. Earlier, like, I found myself searching every house, every corner, checking every box, like slowly taking out each enemy that I could. And like by the end of it, you're just like, let me run past this thing, let me flashbang this room and run by, and like, you know, and it almost becomes a necessity just with the ammo limitation you have. Returning to it this time, were you guys surprised, delighted, disappointed? What was your kind of like, or was it just more of the same?
It was like fine. I think it's due to overexposure. I think you said you played it once. I'm sure I've been the teens in playthroughs with all the New Game Plus stuff I did. There was an attempt at the start of a YouTube career that I have locked away in my YouTube channel with walkthrough videos through the first like 3 areas of the game. I did not get very far before I gave up on that adventure. But yeah, I watched all kinds of YouTube playthroughs then. I still watch speedruns of this game. It's interesting. I watched randomizer videos because I like to see weird enemies in certain situations and how someone can adapt or even get through it. Like 4 Krauser's running around in the room trying to get through it. That is an interesting watch at all times. Yeah. So like, I've played it a bunch as a kid, played it again when it came out on PS3 HD in college. I did at least one playthrough, maybe like a 1.5. And since then, speed runs, games done quick, all that fun stuff. Now coming back to it, I kind of I've seen so much of it that I knew all the tricks to get through a room quickly, like the double Gyarados room. I know if I just buy a rocket launcher before then, just hit that back wall of the rocket launcher, that room's not an issue anymore. I kind of have a strategy for the Salazar room. I have a strategy to deal with Verdugo and that the freezer, when you have to freeze him. Like another one where just make sure you have a rocket launcher. Salazar, make sure you have a rocket launcher.
One hit kill.
Yeah. I don't know. So again, it's overexposure. It's still a great game, but I was just kind of going through it this past time. I've been here. I've done this. I've enjoyed it. I still enjoyed parts of it. I still had those dumb moments. But I had more of those eye rolls because Ashley was in the wrong spot at the wrong time and got hit with something, or I put myself in a bad spot in one of the rooms with endless enemies. So I have more. I think more eye rolls than I ever had this playthrough. But doesn't take away that as a great game. It's just I think I don't want to say bored, but I felt like I was going through the motions a little bit this run. I didn't end up finishing it, but that's, it's fine. And I'm ready to kind of move past this chapter of my video game career in a way, and appreciate it from afar and never probably play it again.
Yeah, there's a couple games and shows and things like that from my past that I feel like I would get ready to jump back into, and then nah, I'm good. I did this then, I don't need to now, but
yeah, I've already, I've already unlocked the Chicago typewriter. I've already done that playthrough of the game. I've already unlocked the damn Mega Man arm. Done. I've done it. It's just,
Mark, what about you this time?
Loading up my save from before, I forgot that I was playing a certain way. I was, I go a more difficult route in the beginning of the game for the first up until chapter 3, which is I don't upgrade the pistol or the shotgun. Instead I buy either the Red 9 or the other pistol.
The Matilda? No, we don't get the Matilda yet. It's the Punisher.
The Punisher.
Is it Punisher? Yeah.
Punisher's the one you get with the medallions.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that one also has its limitations when it comes to upgrading. Yeah. I think there's another
of the pistols.
Yeah, I think there's another handgun you can get aside from that one.
It's not
there's
Black,
the TMP,
right?
But
that's the machine gun.
You're not going. It's not the 3-shot pistol, right?
No,
okay. I can't
think of it. Maybe Blacktail.
Ah, right. Yes.
Yeah. Because usually you'll go to forums or anything, and Blacktail and Red 9, they're both equally good, except that one just has a slightly faster fire rate, and one is couldn't remember if it was slightly better reload speed or capacity. I forget. It was something like that.
The Red 9 also has that exclusive firepower, I think. I think that's the one that has, if you upgrade it all, you get the exclusive upgrade. I think you have firepower.
This time I went the Red 9 route. And that gets limited upgrades as you progress. So you can't do it every time you run into a merchant. It's you kind of get throttled when it comes to upgrading weapons. But the shotgun, I just had basic shotgun because I knew at some point I was going to get the combat shotgun. So it's I'm not spending any money on this gun because I'm going to get rid of it. And so it was hard. I had all this money saved up, so a lot of fights were struggling with just a basic shotgun and this Red 9 that I have. but I got through, and then still had enough money to buy the combat shotgun, the semi-auto sniper rifle, upgrade those a little bit, and so you get to a good spot once you reach the cultists, which is chapter 3, and yeah. So, but I forgot that I was doing that when I started this back up. I was like, "Oh, this is rough. How am I going to do this?" And like, you get to the part with Luis in the house, and you're trying to fend everyone off from coming to the house, and luckily I had grenades, and then like the boss fight after that was a little tough, and then I thought I was going to struggle with that car coming down the hill, because you got to shoot the driver before it gets to you or whatever. I was like, oh, I don't have a rifle. I know, it's like, I don't have a rifle, what am I going to do? But then yeah, it was fine. So yeah,
go ahead, finish your thought. I was going to ask a question, follow up to the cabin.
Oh, no, I was just saying that, so I tend to, like, it's definitely more of, like, a survivalist route, and at least in the beginning of the game, where, like, I'm reserving ammo by, like, I'll shoot them in the knee or the face, kick them, and then knife them when they're down. So I only need, like, 1 shot or 2 shots per thing. Unless it gets too hairy, then, you gotta do what you gotta do. But I knife everything as much as I can. Yeah,
I did the knife thing, and I ended up getting the Red 9, my playthrough, what I did play. I played up to the island, so I played most of it.
Yeah.
But I resorted to the TMP because of just 1 shot to the face. You get, like, the kick animation, or, 1 to the knee, get the suplex, or the other kick, the modified kick. So I saw myself using the TMP more this run, I think, I ever have. Because of that. But no, I was going to ask, the cabin, I guess it's really the only choice you have in the game. Which way do you usually go? Do you go left or right? When you have to choose a path to take to get to
after the cabin.
Mendez, the big cheese.
Yeah. Yeah, I forgot which one was which, and I think I wanted to do the right one.
Gigante?
Yes, because I think you get better reward by doing that one.
I could tell you, because I always go right.
I think I think that route might have a treasure, and I think I messed that up, because I ended up going left, and it was just like fighting the chainsaw ladies and whatever. So I don't know if I don't think I can go back and do that. But yeah, right is definitely harder, but I think it has something that you can only get in that path, and that's the only reason to do it. Otherwise.
Oh, so right is harder.
Well, yeah. I mean, it just in the sense of, like, you have a Gigante chasing you or whatever.
Okay, because I didn't know what was on the left.
Unless you know what you're doing, you can take him down. But like,
that was the thing. I didn't know what was on the left, but I knew what he was, and I was like, well, maybe the dog will come help me again.
Oh no, the dog's long gone.
I know, but I didn't. I don't know that. I know that now, but my intention was to go that way, but I'm an idiot and wasn't paying attention to which side was which. So I went left, and I'm like, that's the one with him, right? Didn't pay close enough attention. And I'm like, I don't know, when's he going to come? He just never came. It's like, all right, I guess he must have been on the right side.
Yeah.
Speaking of difficulty, this game has dynamic difficulty, so it will adjust to how you are playing. Matt, have you exploited that? Is that the grin I'm seeing?
No, I never exploited it. It's just when you feel that difficulty bump, because, like, early on, your first, like, bits of it, you get hit, and it's like a little dink off your health, like you go from green to yellow. But man, there are some parts in the castle.
Oh my gosh.
If you're performing and you go from green to red, you're like, what the fuck happened?
Yep.
Like,
you get the same tiny little hit, same nothing at all.
Crazy.
Yeah. I was getting that, like, probably in the section, like, right after you fight why can't I think of the name of the thing? The fish.
Oh,
I don't think I never knew the fish's name.
I can't think of it.
When you have infinite spears in the back of a... Yeah, I'm never going to remember the name of that guy.
I have.
But yeah.
I'll give it to you in a second here.
Thank you. But when right after you're fighting that, like, somewhere in the village or the area after that, I feel like I started just getting hit by, like, the tiniest thing, and then suddenly I was like down to like 1 hit of health left. Like if someone breathes on me the wrong way, Leon's dead.
Del Lago.
Del Lago, thank you. Does it just mean of the lake?
Probably.
Okay. But yeah, dynamic difficulty was something I thought that was like interesting for a game like this. I mean, we should actually make a side note that we should do a whole episode on games about games what have dynamic difficulty. I think it's an interesting concept in video games. In fact, I think every video game should do that. There should be no easy mode, hard mode, none of that. Just adjust.
I don't think I ever really
Elden
noticed.
Ring difficulty. Sorry, just From Software difficulty. All of them.
Yeah, there's that.
Yeah, but I think this game can get away with dynamic difficulty and the weird spikes in. This is by far the most forgiving of any Resident Evil checkpointing system.
Oh my gosh, there were so many times where I would die and be like,
it.
Yeah, like I would like think I'm going all the way back to my last typewriter, and it was like, oh, I'm right at the beginning. Pfft, okay, we're good.
Yeah, it's I was watching, you know, again, it's one of the many videos or runs I've seen of it, but someone was talking about the checkpoint system, and they said, like, really, the only reason you have to save in this game is, one, you're scared of a crash, or two, you're done playing your session with the game and you're like walking away. Like, that's the only reason you would have to save in this game.
Huh. I was just kind of doing it whenever I found a typewriter.
I was too, and I did all the time as a kid, because it's not like you were running like the ink ribbon thing. Even in professional difficulty, you don't get like ink ribbons. You just save whenever. But yeah, no, when someone pitched it like that, I was like, oh yeah, right. Like, you really don't need to save in this game unless you are like not playing it, or you're done playing it.
Yeah.
Or you want your New Game Plus, save file.
The other thing that stood out to me of this game, which we've talked around a little bit here, is you have an AI companion who I know
Companion's a strong word.
But about what, a chapter into the game, chapter and a half, whatever, you finally rescue the president's daughter from captivity. And for the rest of your journey, you've got Ashley with you, and I don't think there's probably 1,000 examples in between these two, but I don't feel like I felt a connection as a player between a companion character again after playing Resident Evil 4 until The Last of Us. Like, just in terms of like someone you were responsible for, right? Like the character follows you, and you can, I think even more so in this than in The Last of Us, you kind of instruct Ashley, like, hide, wait, those types of things. Or go up there and turn that crank. Where you're not really always doing that, and you kind of do in The Last of Us, but this one, I can't think of an example before this game that had something that felt real and natural, because this does still feel like really, it feels like real life you know what I mean? Like, obviously Ashley it's frustrating, but like, just in terms of like, she's as real and competent as the other villagers in the game, right? Like, she follows you, she reacts based on what Leon's doing. When you shoot the gun, she hides, she cowers, covers her ears, those types of things. Like, I know it's not perfect, but thinking of when it was released and all that, like, it still stands out to me. It's just something that was different about this game. And it's like, you look at it from a development perspective. It's like, okay, one, they made Resident Evil 1. It was a remake of a Famicom game, in a way, or reimagining. 2 was, well, let's build on that and tell the other side of the story, but still do more of that. 3 was the other side of that story. And then 4 is like, I mean, I know they had Code Veronica and all sorts of other stuff in between, but by the time we get to 4, it's like, what are the things we're doing now? And really, what are the things we're able to do with more power under the hood, with GameCube, with newer technology? And it's like, well, we can do things like adjust the difficulty. We can do things like have an entire other non-playable character that follows the main character around. Like, that's the stuff I look at where in addition to the third-person innovations and, the control schemes and modernizing those things, I look at the dynamic difficulty and the AI companionship in this game as, like, two of the big standouts in terms of, like, just technical innovation. Where does Ashley sit for the two of you? Mark, why don't we start with you?
She's all right. She doesn't really get in the way too much. Like, she typically knows to stay behind you, but if you do happen to do like a quick 180 turn and do shooting or something, she does know to duck. So it's like it's almost hard for you to actually kill her unless you have like a rocket or something, like I never really had much issue with her. Like, especially when I was like back first playing this game, I was like super obsessed with anything zombies. I definitely had went into like the RP mindset when playing it. I be a little immersive. Like, all right, if I did have someone with me, like, when would I have them follow me? When would I have them stay and hide? Like all that stuff. So it's like around every corner, I'd just be like, wait, and then I would go check. All right, come on, and then just keep going and all that stuff. So I definitely got into it. It didn't really annoy me. My favorite thing, it's a little thing, but my favorite thing that she does is when you're going down the lift and you're shooting all the upcoming infected and they just fall off. Like if she's in frame and you see it, she does like a little like fist pump every time you shoot someone. She's like, yes. I'm like, all right, cool. I got some encouragement. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good shot.
I hope for more moments like that in the remake as well. Just those little character moments. Matt, did you love having to heal Ashley as well as Leon?
Oh, no, I never healed her. That bitch died. She either got the red or died.
Wow.
We don't got time. We don't got time for that.
You don't get yellow herbs.
No. Oh my God. No, I can't even fill Leon's health bar. You think I'm filling hers? Fuck no. I
definitely have before though, but not this time.
Yeah, my first playthrough, and I was naive. I think it gets too blown up about how it feels escorty and she's in your way more than it's really not that bad. Unless they change her AI somehow between HD remakes, which I don't think they did.
No.
She can get annoying. Honestly, my most annoying part with her is when you're trying to shoot her out of the metal columns and she yells after every shot. That's like ear-piercingly annoying. But other than that, it's not it's fine.
She also has to run to the cranks, right? That one section.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I think that part is the most difficult for me.
That whole room is fucking hard.
Yeah.
That is the outlier of difficulty. For some reason. But luckily there's two checkpoints in that room. One when you open the door and one when you get up the stairs to that part. Yeah.
It's not so much her fault though.
I think it's just the mechanic. Like, if you don't have a rifle in that, it's kind of like that Resident Evil thing. Like, if you don't have the right gun at the right time or the right ammo at the right time, it makes things harder than what they could be. It's just one of those parts. She's fine. I think those parts of the game people get too mad about. It's not that bad.
I've got two more things I wanted to bring up before we get this thing ranked and slapped on the list. Of course, feel free to add anything else you had of note. But one, this game went through some development. I don't want to call it difficulties, but this game went through many iterations before it finally saw release. Can either of you name the 3 different versions that are named?
I go to Mark. I'm on the same page. I think you are.
I didn't know there was 3 different versions. I just know the prototype of what this was gonna be, and then what the prototype became.
Yeah, these are like, well, or not again. I didn't say it yet, but I'll say it now. These are like what people and the fans have dubbed the blank versions, but there's 3 that hit before the final version that led to the development of 4 and what we actually got. But yeah, you had the Fog version, which is a game that reached 40% of its completion, development-wise. This is where Leon was struggling to survive after infiltrating Umbrella's castle-like main headquarters located in Europe. Featured more traditional zombies. The Hookman version, which this was the one shown at E3 2003. I remember this one. This one was claimed to be scarier than ever before. It was set in a haunted building where Leon contracted a bizarre disease and fought paranormal enemies, such as animated suits of armor, living dolls, and a ghost-like man with a large hook for an arm.
That's the one I remember. The baby
without seeing this beforehand, that's the one I always remember too.
There was the hallucination version, which was only a basic story concept, according to this. Dropping the other stories that were written, the hallucination version was pulling from the film Lost Souls, where the main character suddenly finds herself in a derelict building with a killer on the loose. They kind of took this and it eventually turned into the Hookman version. They went through several iterations of this where you still had the bioorganic weapons in the series in the form of a dog. Yeah, it was a whole thing. They scrapped that one. They pulled some of it, recycled it for some of the elements of 5 and some of the 5 DLC. But yeah, anyway. It eventually got on track and got to be this game. But yeah, the first iteration of this game was... let's see, 2001 is when development had started.
Wow.
The first announcement had been made officially in November of 2002. But yeah, of course, we wouldn't get this till January 2005. So it took quite some time. Went through several iterations. The one iteration of this, I guess prior to the Fog version, prior to anything, is when they tried to make a cool, stylish action game, which that ended up being a video game called Devil May Cry, and pulled Hideki Kamiya off of development of Resident Evil 4, and would later bring Shinji Mikami back as director. He would take over this project in the end and write it and all that fun stuff.
It's funny how that happens.
I know.
And
maybe he's coming back to make Resident Evil 9. Maybe that's why he's leaving Tango after all these years.
Dude. No, but, it's kind of nice to see, because the one they showed at E3, the prototype, the Hookman one, if anyone watches that video, or hasn't yet, I recommend checking it out. It is pretty cool. Before, in a pre-Village world, I wanted more supernatural stuff to come to Resident Evil. I thought that was such a cool premise, and it was sad to not really see that. And I was like, man, what could have been? And then like Village kind of taps into this, so yeah, that's like the closest you're gonna get probably to playing that prototype. But I hope they do more stuff like that in the future.
It is funny, like that E3 trailer. It has that one room of Leon like in the castle going up these little sets of steps, and they kept that in the final version. It's this very atmospheric, like the crows are flying by, the lighting's like all detailed and stuff, and it's like.
And Devil May Cry has that too. Like in the first one, it's not that different.
Yeah, it's funny how like it just seems like that one memorable room, or one of the memorable rooms from that demo, is like still in this product, and it's like one of the most. Yeah. Detailed atmospheric rooms, and it's this short little stairs. It's nothing, there's nothing threatening about it at all. It's just a transition from like one piece of the castle to the next, but it's funny how that sticks out.
And probably not that important to highlight, but I want to anyway. When I was talking about like the leap before, also a leap with Leon, because like you're playing Resident Evil 2, just first day on the job of being a cop, and then like the end of the world basically happens, and then right into 4, he's all of a sudden the president's body. You went from a rookie to president's bodyguard. Like,
so that was one of the interesting things between the GameCube and Wii box description. The GameCube one reads U.S. Agent Leon Kennedy, and the Wii one reads now a U.S. agent, comma, Leon Kennedy. Like, it just a subtle thing, but like really just emphasizing, like, yes, out of nowhere, he's now a U.S. agent.
So I could make a joke here about how he survived the whole cruise ship breakout.
I was
maybe
about
a BOW.
Yes.
But he does make a small cameo in Code Veronica.
Fair,
Leon does?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Like, Code Veronica and like OG3 are my blind spots.
Yeah, he's not in it. It's Jill. Don't ask me why. It sounds like a giant plot hole. But while Jill is looking for Chris, when she gets to that island, I forget the name of it now. It's all a little fuzzy. She reaches out to Leon to reach out to Chris, which why wouldn't you just do that before going through the whole... Anyway, that's how Chris finds out where Jill is at, and then, events happen.
You mean Claire, right?
Sorry, Claire. Yes, Claire Redfield. Sorry, Chris, Clive, Jill, whatever the fuck's coming.
It's like Jill and Leon have never met until this CG movie thing that happens.
Right. Yeah, you guys even... Because Jill's not in 6, right?
No.
Nope.
Which is wild, because that is like fanfare at its finest, that game.
It's like
the Smash
Leon
Brothers of Resident Evil. Everyone's here.
Yeah, like Leon's been all the even number games, and then like Chris has been all the odd numbers until 6.
I really can't wait to see what 9 is, honestly.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I said I had one more thing, but I actually have 2 more things. So the one, I'll do a fun one. Is there a better ending than the two main characters riding off into the sunset on a jet ski?
Yes, Metal Gear Solid did it first. Riding off on a snowmobile into the sunset.
You're right.
On Alaskan
snowmobile
ice.
Ending was all right.
But did either one of them get friend zoned?
Otacon did.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Well, depending on how that ending
right.
worked
Yeah,
out
you
for
got there too. Yeah. You got 2.
That's a weird part of 4 that was like, okay, a little odd.
And then what was the scariest part of Resident Evil 4 for you?
The generator
island.
The
specific rooms?
generator.
Regenerate.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, the regen. Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine was when Sadler said, "When the eggs hatch." You just find out, because at that point, you, the audience, know that Leon has been injected, but you're meeting Ashley for the first time. She says, "I think they did something to me, Leon." Sadler says, "Yes, I did, and also did it to you." And when the eggs hatch. And that phrase has haunted me since replaying this game. Just like the idea of someone injecting something in you without you realizing it, and then you're told there's something in you that will hatch.
Yeah. Also, I guess it's more intense than scary, but the blind claw enemies.
The Novistadors, the bug things.
Matt's friend.
No, not the bugs. Like they have like the metal mask and the giant Wolverine claws.
The ones
the
in
blind
their,
boys.
Sewer
Yeah, we're like
place,
Garradors.
or
No, the Garradors.
Yeah.
The blind boys with the Wolverine claws.
Yeah, like we're like as soon as you
and it starts
as soon as you fart, they just like chop your head off.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, okay.
The one in the prison area and that in the castle
like
in 3-1.
Like how fast they are and the noise they make. I was like, no! Like
Yeah.
you don't have time to turn around. You just got to run and hope for the best. No, but yeah, regenerators were definitely the freakiest thing.
And it's like the music is perfect because when you get into that room, like you identify the first time you're playing it, you kind of don't know until it wakes up after you get the key card or whatever. But then from that point forward, every room that a regenerator's in, when you open the door, it's that fucking music, and it just your body's just the game's playing
breathing.
mental games with you, and it's they're terrifying. I didn't want to talk about Remake too much, but I am scared to death of what they're going to do in Remake with those fucking regenerators. The Navistadors are scary enough, but I'm not looking forward to that either. But regenerators, I don't want to know. Don't want to know.
It's time we rank this thing. If you want to follow along with the list, of course, that's thefreecheese.com/the list. And I am pretty high on this game.
Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah. All right, I've got my number. Yeah.
Okay.
You guys both want to come to a number and we can all three shout at the same time and then it won't sound right because who knows if this thing's synced up correctly?
I don't think I'm in a range, not necessarily a number.
I've got the spot, and I think Matt.
I can't. Yeah, like I'm trying not to second guess myself. Like whatever my instinct number was, I think I should just stick with it.
All right, yeah, do that.
So
I'm gonna do that.
I got one.
I had an instinct number, and then I was like, no, that's not the right. I needed to look at the list. Now that I've looked at the list, I'm like, no, that's my number. I feel good about that.
We'll say it and then talk about it, of course. But.
All right. Matt, you got one? Mark and I can just scream at each other.
I flip-flopped like 3 times already.
All right, go with your gut. I'm going to count it in. Ready? We're all going to do it. 3, 2, 1, 6.
3.
12.
Okay, so 3 was my gut.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, I think I like Sonic Frontiers over this, so 6. And then Matt says 12.
I'm not mind being that high. I think I gotta think a little bit more of... I gotta get this last impression out of it and remember, like, why it's been that impression on me. Why it felt like I went through the motions is because I'm so absorbed in the game. So yeah, I'm willing to come up easily.
And I'm also willing to go down because... even though I really do like this game and it does deserve a high spot, even with its blemishes, and this game isn't perfect, even though we haven't, not that I'm trying to look for bad things or trying to be negative, there are some things that just haven't aged well with this game.
Yeah, that's fair.
Moving is also your camera. I don't care for that anymore. I am over that type of gameplay style. The aiming, even though it was different, and I like that you could be accurate with your shots now versus old Resident Evil games where you just had to hope for the best. The aiming was still a little slow and a little rough with the laser dot. So even though I barely played the Wii version, when I worked at GameStop, I'd always recommend the Wii version for people because of the aiming alone. That killed a lot of frustration for a lot of players. Some of the story beats are a little wacky.
Tell me what Resident Evil isn't, though.
True.
I mean, just coming from right.
Yeah, I know.
Coming from what it was,
I agree.
it just a lot. There's so much in this game. It's so packed with so much stuff, and I love how its variety to the gameplay that it lets you approach with, and how that can affect everything. Even if you kill the merchant, that screws you over so much in this game. Just the fact that that's an option.
Spots.
Once you kill him, you kill him.
Oh, I thought he was just dead in that spot.
Not. I mean, unless it's a difficulty thing. I remember one time I killed him with a rocket, and he did not come back.
Oh man!
So you were that's it. Whatever you had, you had.
I think that's as you're describing it, you're making me realize the thing that's also really great about this is it's a game in a series that continues the series, adds to its lore, adds to its legacy, but also still fully fits the confines of Resident Evil 1. what they set out to do with 1, they still did in 4. Like the setup, the pacing, the way that the characters flow, like it still has all of those same similar. Like it is a Resident Evil game in that regard.
And I love it. Like even like with blemishes with it. I mean, just because I think it's because I grew up with it, I know how to play it. I don't know if it's going to be as intuitive for newcomers now.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. Maybe it is. I'm not sure. But it definitely, now the more I think about it, the more I think it is deserving of this remake coming out. Which, I mean, and for people who don't want that for some reason, you still have this one. Like, it's
I was
a playable game for sure.
Probably until like the last month, I was on that train of like, this doesn't need it. It's like, you know, it's new. You know, it's not new, but you know, it's newer. There's other games that you remake, and then I going back, especially this past week, I was like, yeah,
and I think it's just more so
ready.
I think it's just more so with the controls than anything.
There are some ridiculous sections. How big is this fucking castle?
Right.
There's a lava pit in the middle of the castle. Are you kidding me?
And then we got the quick time events. Like that was a fad with games back then. We don't need that anymore. You know, like so. There's a lot of things that just have changed with gaming as we go through it. So that's why I'm willing to put this lower on the list, just because of just age, basically. But that doesn't mean it's a bad game.
Yeah, I think that just like some games age better than others, and that's just it's just the nature of it. It's still a great game. I still highly recommend it to someone if they have not played it for some reason at this point in their life. Even the not Resident Evil fan, I think this is the one that's kind of like your outlier a little bit. I mean, I think I said last. I think Gaiden is technically my first hands-on Resident Evil game, but like this is my first like true like I sat down, didn't watch someone play, but like I sat down and played from beginning to end myself. So this is like my proper introduction to it. I think it still holds up well because this is its own story enough as well. Like you don't like. I feel like 3 you should kind of know what's going on in 1 a little bit. This one feels fresh and doesn't really. It feeds into the overarching theme, and 5 kind of does a good job to bring 4 back into everything. But by itself, it kind of, if you know who Leon is, you're in a good spot.
And that's what I liked about Resident Evil as a series. Like, you didn't have to play every single one to kind of get what's going on. Like, if you just had a favorite character, you would just follow that character, which means less games for you to play if you're, strapped with time or something. But since, Matt, you and I kind of had the highs and lows of this, based on that, I'm willing to kind of agree with Joe and probably put it as the new number 6.
Yeah. I'm fine with that.
And no, we like it over Pikmin 3?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of Matt's 12 and make sure we're not okay.
No, I'm
punishment.
I'm
6
up.
is good.
Yeah, 6 is good.
All right, so we're gonna move that down. It's gonna now sit for the listeners not able to view the list right now. It's gonna sit at number 6 between Sonic Frontiers and Pikmin 3.
I can already imagine some people just being like, under Sonic? What the heck?
I know.
Trust me, there's someone here that has the right to say that. It's me, and it's fine where it's at.
Yeah.
Wow.
I speak for the Sonic haters.
Matt, known each other for quite a while now.
I've grown.
I've
grown. There's other shit I'm playing that we have not revealed to the audience yet. I've grown a lot in the last fucking how many years.
I'm proud of you. You're doing good.
Still play Call of Duty though. I always gotta go back to the roots eventually.
You gotta have, of course. I'm trying to look at our list and see what other things you're getting into that you're. Oh wait, you're getting into some stuff, aren't you? Yeah. Yes. We've got quite a year ahead of us. Well, there you go. Congratulations, Resident Evil 4 and Capcom. The full month of April has yet to be revealed, so come back to thefreecheese.com on April 1st to see all of the games and podcast episodes we are scheduled to record. But I can reveal next week's game. If you come back next week for episode 499, you can hear us talk about Rogue. Like the Rogue. You know what I'm talking about?
The Rogue?
Talking Rogue?
Yeah, come and experience it. The Rogue.
Yes, The Rogue. You can play along with us. It's available on Steam. It's available on
browsers.
archive.org as a legacy. It is a properly archived video game that if you've been playing that Dead Cells Return to Castlevania and you're like, boy, I like this. I want more games that are like this, that are rogue-like. Well, guess what, buddy? It gets no closer than Rogue itself. So come back, episode
sure doesn't.
499 next week. Talk about Rogue with us. Until then, you know what? Before we do until then, I need to say congratulations to all of us, all three of us. Not a single one of us did a merchant impression. I can't believe it.
You did one at the very start.
We did?
He did, yes.
Ah, shoot.
I didn't do the.
All right.
It was the first words out of his mouth the episode.
Hold on. I didn't do the voice,
Fair,
but
okay,
I said,
fair.
welcome stranger.
I'm not even going to count that. For almost 20 years, anytime anyone Resident Evil 4, I can't even do it because I'm going to break my own rule. But you know the thing that everyone says when they think of the merchant.
Yeah, because iconic merchant, top 5 iconic merchants.
There is a more iconic line in this game, and it's the "open up your asshole" line.
You think that more than where'd everybody go? Bingo.
I mean, non-Leon dad joke lines.
All right, yeah, fair.
Open up your asshole.
Well, now we can send it off on that good note. Until next time, thank you, Mark. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, listener, for listening. See you next time. Bye.